Welcome to the Compact Murder podcast from compactmurder.com, the show where we explore murders, murderers, serial killers, and assassinations. This is episode 43, The Execution of Lady Jane Grey. In the bitter chill of February 1554, the stone walls of the Tower of London enclosed a scene of quiet tragedy. Within them waited Lady Jane Grey, a teenage girl who had worn England's crown for just 9 days and was now preparing to face the executioner's axe. Her short reign had been born out of political manoeuvring and religious division, and it would end with her name etched into history as one of the most poignant victims of Tudor power struggles. Lady Jane Grey was born in October 1537 at Bradgate Park in Leicestershire. She was the eldest daughter of Henry Grey, Duke of Suffolk, and Frances Brandon. Her mother was the niece of King Henry VIII, making Jane the great-granddaughter of Henry VII. In an age where royal blood meant both privilege and danger, Jane's place in the Tudor family tree put her in the shadow of the throne. From an early age, Jane's education was exceptional, even by noble standards. She studied under leading humanist scholars and mastered Latin and Greek before she was a teenager. She also learned Hebrew and was steeped in Protestant theology, developing a strong personal faith that would remain central to her identity. Those who met her often remarked on her intelligence and seriousness, qualities unusual for a young woman of her time. But in the Tudor world, intelligence and royal blood could also make you a pawn. When King Edward VI, the only legitimate son of Henry VIII, became gravely ill in early 1553, a succession crisis loomed. Under Henry VIII's will, the crown should have passed to Edward's half-sister Mary, a devout Catholic, and then to her half-sister Elizabeth, who was Protestant, if Mary bore no heir. But Edward, still a teenager himself, was determined to preserve Protestant rule. At the same time, John Dudley, the powerful Duke of Northumberland, saw an opportunity. He arranged for Jane to marry his son, Guildford Dudley, in May 1553. Shortly after, Edward drew up a document known as his Devise for the Succession, naming Jane as his heir and deliberately excluding Mary and Elizabeth. It was a move designed to keep England Protestant and protect the power of those around him, but it set in motion a chain of events that would prove fatal for Jane. Edward VI died on the 6th of July 1553. 4 days later, Jane was proclaimed Queen of England. Accounts suggest she accepted the crown reluctantly, reportedly saying that the position was not hers by right. Yet she was persuaded, or pressured, by her parents and Northumberland that it was her duty to take it. Her accession was met with uncertainty. While London was under the control of her supporters, Mary Tudor was gathering forces in East Anglia. Mary's claim, as the legitimate daughter of Henry VIII, was clear in the eyes of many, and she enjoyed the backing of both Catholics and moderates wary of Northumberland's influence. The people's support for Mary surged. Within 9 days, Jane's position collapsed. Northumberland's forces began to defect, and even the Privy Council, which had backed Jane, switched allegiance. On the 19th of July, Mary entered London in triumph. Jane was arrested and confined to the Tower of London, the very place she had been proclaimed queen. Initially, Mary seemed inclined to show mercy. Jane was young, intelligent, and widely regarded as having been manipulated by more ambitious figures. But the political climate was unstable, and Jane's continued existence posed a threat to Mary's rule. That threat grew in January 1554, when Sir Thomas Wyatt led a rebellion against Mary's proposed marriage to Philip of Spain. The marriage was unpopular among many English subjects, especially Protestants who feared Spanish dominance. Although Jane had no role in the uprising, her father, Henry Grey, joined the rebels. This sealed her fate. Mary's advisers argued that as long as Jane lived, she would remain a figurehead for Protestant opposition, and so, reluctantly, Mary signed her cousin's death warrant. In the days before her execution, Jane showed remarkable composure. She spent her time in prayer, reading scripture, and writing letters of farewell. One letter, to her younger sister Catherine, urged her to stay faithful to Protestantism and to live a virtuous life. On the morning of the 12th of February 1554, Jane's husband, Guildford Dudley, was executed first. He was led to Tower Hill, where his beheading was carried out in public. His body was returned to the Tower, passing beneath Jane's window, a grim reminder of what awaited her. Shortly afterwards, Jane was escorted to a scaffold erected on Tower Green, inside the Tower walls. This private location, rather than the public execution site, was chosen to avoid unrest. She was dressed in a black gown and carried a small prayer book. Before the assembled witnesses, Jane spoke briefly, declaring that she had never sought the crown and took it only as it had been offered to her. She admitted to guilt in failing to resist ambition, but she maintained her innocence of treason in intent. She asked for God's mercy and urged those present to bear witness to her faith. She recited Psalm 51, "Have mercy upon me, O God," before blindfolding herself. In a moment that has been immortalized in art and literature, she reached out for the execution block, but could not find it. Panic flickered in her voice as she asked, "What shall I do? Where is it?" A bystander guided her hand, and she knelt, laying her head in place. Her final words were, "Lord, into thy hands I commend my spirit." Moments later, the axe fell, ending her life. Lady Jane Grey's execution shocked many. She was a teenager, highly educated, deeply pious, and by most accounts unwilling to take the throne. Yet she became a victim of the ruthless politics of the Tudor court. For Protestants, she was quickly elevated to the status of a martyr, celebrated in John Fox's acts and monuments. For others, she was a tragic figure, an innocent drawn into a deadly game of power she could never win. In the centuries since, her story has been told in paintings, plays, novels and films, often focusing on the image of the young queen blindfolded at the block. She has come to symbolize the perils of royal blood in a volatile age, and the human cost of the struggle between faith and power. Lady Jane Grey's 9 days on the throne may have been short, but her legacy has endured for almost 5 centuries. Her life and death remain a cautionary tale of how political ambition can destroy even the most innocent lives. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Compact Murder Podcast from compacthistories.com. If you did, why not leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts? And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you would like to support us more directly, please consider buying us a coffee. Head on over to compacthistories.com/murdercoffee to see how. Also, please check out our other Compact podcasts. You will find them all at compacthistories.com. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.